For this DIY, we're going to be using 4 plungers from the Dollar Tree, but if you have wood dowels already from your home improvement store, you can use those too. Now I'm going to use my heat gun to remove these stickers because they are so hard to remove if they are at room temperature. I went ahead and took my miter box and I cut them down to all different sizes, the 4 different stakes from the plunger. And then I went and sanded down the ends where I had cut them in half to make sure that they're nice and smooth and there's no splinters coming out. Now I'm going to be painting each one of these dowels, and it's all going to be red, white, and blue since this is a very patriotic themed video. I'm going to go ahead and do this one where I had all white first, then I added on blue at the top, and now I'm coming in with some red stripes, and then with the back of my brush I'm going to create some polka dots. Once that was dry, I moved on to the next one. I painted it all white. I did some thick blue stripes. On the third one, I did it all white again, painted on thick red stripes, and then a thick blue band in the middle with some polka dots. On the fourth one, I went ahead and did only thick white bands, as well as white polka dots all over it. And then you can see here that I came in with those last sticks. I did a solid blue, a solid white, and a solid red. Now this completes all of my sticks. You can honestly paint them whatever colors you want. But now I'm going to take my drill, and I've decided to do this because I wanted to make sure that the wick, the rope, and the twine that I'm putting at the top really stays on there and they don't fall off over time. So you can skip this drill part if you don't think it's necessary, but I really like my things to feel like they've come from the store. So you can see here that I drilled that hole. I didn't go in very deep, just deep enough to be able to put a little bit of the rope or the twine down in there when I hot glued it in so it would stay in place. So to create the wick, you're just going to take a rope or a piece of twine. You're going to tie it in a knot or 2 until you get it thick enough that you want. And then you can see here for the rope, I cut off a lot of that extra thickness of the rope. I left 2 of those little fibers. Those little fibers are going to be what I stick down into the hole to really lock it down in there. And then I just keep twisting it until it's on there nice and tight. And then at the very end, I'm just going to fray out all the ends of those ropes or the twines to make them look like they're the ends of a firecracker. Now I decided I want mine to stand up, so I'm going to just keep testing it. I'm standing up the first one, gluing on a couple of them, checking to make sure it can still stand up on its own, and I'm just going to keep adding on all of these different firecracker sticks until it's all standing up nice and firm. Now I'm going to take some twine and I'm going to wrap it around it a whole bunch of times, and this is where I have a free printable for you all. The free printable is linked down below. It'll take you to my website where you can download it in a safe environment so you won't have any issues downloading it. And then you're just going to basically wrap on your twine, cut out your tag, and then be able to add the tag right to it. And there's a couple different tag options. Pick the one that you want. Have fun with these printable tags for the 4th of July American theme. And then once you're all done, it's ready to be displayed in your home. Our next project is super simple, and I always like to do one of these at least somewhere in my video because I want you to be able to see that you don't have to spend a ton of time like I would on necessarily a wagon or a bike and creating all those steps. All I'm going to do to create a really cute 4th of July look, I am going to just take one of these cute flags from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to take it off the stick, save the stick for a project we have coming up, and then I'm going to hot glue that flag right to the mason jar. I'm going to take off the lid so that way I can add a candle to the inside, and then I'm going to take some twine and then just wrap it around twice and tie a knot. I think this is the cutest look, super simple to do, and I just love how it looks. And then I decided to add the gold lid back to the top because I just felt like that really finished the look. This DIY is going to be so quick. I'm taking this container, this bucket that I found at a thrift store, and we're going to flip it into something super cute. It could go on your porch, It can go somewhere in your house. It just depends on what you want to do with it and where you want to put it. If you're planning on putting real plants in it, do make sure you have some drill drain holes at the bottom so that the water can drain out. But I'm going to be putting faux plants in mine, so it'll be safe. So I went outside and I spray painted a really pretty blue color. And now I'm coming in with these really pretty ribbons I found at Joann's. They had all of them on clearance. So I ended up paying very little for this ribbon. And now I'm just going to take them to the length that I need. I'm doubling up the star blue ribbon because I really wanted that to be the focal point. And I'm just going to wrap that around nice and tight and glue it into place. And then I'm going to come back in with this really cute red and white stripe ribbon. And I'm going to glue that right in the middle of those two star ribbons to hide that seam line. Pulling it all the way around, I'm going to tighten it, and then I'm going to add on a really cute bow onto the front. And you could put whatever you want inside of this bucket. I think the cutest thing about it is that it just has that American look to it. It was an easy DIY, and I just love that it's got that red, white, and blue. For this DIY, I have been holding on to this Christmas bell for quite some time because I knew I wanted to turn it into a Liberty Bell. I wanted to paint it like the American flag. I thought this would be so cool to do this as a DIY, and it's a really easy one to get a really cute American look for your home decor. I'm going to be taking my white paint and a paintbrush, and I'm going to be painting over the part of the bell that has a rougher texture. I'm going to leave the shinier part of that red, so that represents the red stripe, and then I've got the white stripe. And then up at the top, I'm going to paint that top part blue. And then after that, I'm going to let it just sit to the side and dry, because if you've looked at the Liberty Bell, you'll know that there's a wood beam that's through the top to hold up the bell. So I'm going to take 4 popsicle sticks with some brown paint, black paint, and water. I mixed it together and created a stain. And now I'm going to cut them down so that they can overlap each other, because if I just cut them in the exact same area, they wouldn't be as strong holding up on the very ends. So 2 of them are a little bit longer, the other 2 are a little bit shorter, and I'm kind of overlapping them in the middle that you can see here, so that they have a nice hold when I go to slide it through the top of the bell where the handle used to be. Crazy enough, it was the perfect fit for it to go through the top of the bell. You can see here that there was still some paint on the inside that hadn't dried, so I'm just going to take a wipey and just wipey that off. Sometimes I get a little impatient when I paint and I start going on to the next step before things are dry. So excuse me if I do end up doing that from time to time, especially when I'm trying to film things on a crunch. I kind of get a little impatient. Tell me in the comments below, are you a very patient person for paint to dry, or do you get a little impatient like I do sometimes? Now at this point, I'm just taking the back of my paintbrush and I'm just tapping on little dots to represent the stars. You could paint on stars if you wanted to, but I decided to do little dots. And now I'm going to take a very loopy twine bow and I'm going to glue that on right at the neck of the top. I felt like it still was missing a little something and it needed a little bit more at the top, because we could stop there or we can do a little bit more, which is always my favorite. I'm going to layer 2 star buttons on top of each other, and then I'm just going to put that right in front of the bow. But before I put that down, I felt like it was still missing something, so I decided to put one of these finial wood toppers right on top, and I felt like that really did just complete that look. And then I went ahead and added on my button at the very top, and I think this turned out so cute. I hope you all enjoy it and we'll give it a try. This DIY is one that's really popular on Pinterest, and I know a lot of us have these boxes left over because a lot of us have been using the main frame from the Dollar Tree to create different storage crates and things like that. So I've got a lot of these particular little boxes on hand. Now I painted my boxes red, white, and blue, and now I'm going to come in with some gold paint, and you can see that this came from Folk Art. I paused on it so you could see it. This gold paint is one of my new favorites. I just found this and it is the coolest ever. It actually has an iridescent, shiny shimmer gold look to it. It's the best one that I've found. I've tried gold paint before and have been very disappointed many times, but this one was so cool. So I'm just now gluing on some stars on the front to cover up those holes that were originally on the boxes. A lot of us don't know what to do with these boxes unless we figure out a way to cover them, and these stars are perfect to cover them. Now, a lot of people who have done this DIY, they're using block square, but these little crates work out perfect to be able to get that look. And since a lot of us have these left over from previous projects, it works out great. Now at this point you can see that I faced 2 of the boxes down and 1 of them up. I've decided to make mine a little more custom, a little different than what I've seen all over the place on Pinterest and on other crafters channels. I decided to flip the last one up, and I'm going to use that to put some greenery in. But first I'm just adding on some bows to make sure that that looks really cute. I just love bows. I always love bows on everything. And then now I'm going to take some E6000 and some hot glue. I just find that it sticks better whenever I put both of these adhesives in there so it doesn't fall out over time. And then I'm going to put that right inside of that blue box, add in some greenery that I would like, and then it's ready to be displayed somewhere on a cute little table in your home. The supplies we're going to be using are 4 rectangle signs from the Dollar Tree, 1 piece of foam core board, and then these 3 darling metal stars you can put in your garden. All of these are from the Dollar Tree. I cannot wait to show you what we're going to be making. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to take 3 of those signs and we're going to add nice dollops of hot glue, and we're going to butt them up next to each other on this piece of foam core board. Make sure you come all the way up to the corner and then press down nicely, and then you're going to repeat that exact same thing with the other 2 pieces. But that 4th one we're going to want to hold on to it because we're going to be doing something different with it. So make sure once you've got them down, go ahead and pull off those stickers on the back. I will warn you that it will pull back some of the chipboard, so just try to take it off as gently as you can, but we're going to be painting it so it'll help cover up that issue. So here I am, I'm adding on the last one, and then also use some hot glue to fill in those holes where the sign used to have the hang up string on it. Now we're going to take that 4th one and we're going to lay it down. Don't glue it yet. Go ahead and trace around it so we can cut out the extra foam core that we don't need. This is going to allow us to be able to save our time, and I'll show you why in a minute, with painting, because we don't want to paint that 4th one yet. That's going to be blue. So here I am, I'm just cutting away that extra stuff, and then the 3 that are already glued down, we're going to give them a nice coat of white paint. When you get to those spots where we pulled up the sticker, just add a little bit extra. I only did 1 coat of white paint because I'm using this house paint since I'm trying to be wise with my supplies and I'm not trying to go out to the store. I really love using house paint on these kind of projects just because it goes a long way and it has a really nice coverage. If you feel like it's still kind of spotty, you can give it a 2nd coat of white paint if you need to. Then once that's done, you're going to put it to the side, let it dry, and we're going to move on to our stars. Now with these stars, all you need to do is just remove the little stake that is on them, glued to them. They come off pretty easy, and once you do, just hold on to those because these are great pieces of wire if you need them for a craft in the future. Now we're going to take some painter's tape and I'm going to just space out some strips where it is going to create red and white stripes because we're making an American flag, if you haven't already guessed it. Now I did want to have my 13 stripes to represent the 13 colonies, but this is the thing. I wish that I actually had made the red stripe on the bottom and the red stripe on the top so it looked exactly like the American flag. So just make sure you play around with this before you add in the red paint, because later on you'll go back and think, oh, that was the one mistake that I did make. I wish that I had just moved around the tape just a little bit. So make sure you get your spacing right. I didn't even measure it. I just kind of eyeballed it and put them down. And then I made sure I pressed down really well on that tape because I didn't want to have any issues. So here is the blue piece. You can see that I have already spray painted that blue, but we're still not going to glue it down yet. So now I took it outside and I spray painted it red. I spray painted the stars white, and you can see here that I also spray painted that fourth piece blue. I think taking off the painter's tape was the most satisfying. You can see here that I had a little bit of bleeding, but we're going to be covering up that with one of the stars, so that's not even an issue. Now at this point, I'm going to add in some more hot glue. I like doing big dollops of glue just because I feel like when you do a long string of glue, it dries way too quick. So I like to do big dollops just like you saw me doing there to make sure that it still bonds well without having any issues. Once I've got my glue, I went ahead and pushed down really hard to make sure everything bonded well, and now I'm going to just distress it. You don't have to do this distressing part if you don't like it. I personally like a little distressing on my projects, not too much, but just the right amount. And I went around my stars as well. I'm just adding some brown paint to the edges to make it look a little bit rusty, like it's been outside for a while. And then I'm going to take some twine at this point, and I'm going to use 3 long pieces. Now you can see here that I'm cutting them down to size, and then we're just going to simply find the placing, flip it over, and glue it on the back side so it's nice and snug. And then you're going to flip it over again, and then find the spot you want again, flip it back over, and glue it again. And you don't have to add these twine pieces to it, but I just thought it added such cute charm and personality to this instead of it just being a typical 4th of July sign. Now at this point I'm adding a lot of hot glue to the back of my stars, and I'm just nestling one down into the rope. I thought that was really cute. And then the other star, I'm going to bring it over to the side so it kind of hides that little bit of that bleeding. And then to finish the look, I'm going to add a really cute bow right at the cross points of the twine to make it look like it was tied on. For this DIY, we are going to be using the larger star on the free printable. You're going to cut that out and then pick whatever fabrics you want to work with. I'm using a denim, a gingham red, and then a pattern, a light tone-on-tonal fabric for my white. So I've got my red, white, and blue. And what we're going to do is once the star has been cut out, you're going to come in with your hot glue. You could sew these. If you are a seamstress, you love to sew, by all means, go ahead and sew it. If you're not and sewing intimidates you, you definitely can use hot glue like you could see me doing here in this video. So I went ahead and I glued down as close as I could to the edges of the star points, making sure that I also connected the glue in the middle point where the little valley comes down from the stars. You've got the point and then it comes down the middle. And then once everything was dried, I went ahead and started adding just a little bit of batting to make them a little bit poofy. And then I went ahead and started to close up that last point. I did one side first, then I played with the batting just a little bit because you want to make sure that there's batting in that last point. And then I added glue on the other side, making sure the batting was out of the way. I went ahead and pressed down. Now this last part is definitely optional. I like a rustic 4th of July look, very farmhouse Americana. So I'm going to go ahead and just distress the sides of these just a little bit with some brown paint, and then you can play them up with buttons or twine, whatever you would like to put on them. It really just makes them come to life at this point. Now I saw this inspiration on Pinterest. I've seen a whole bunch of these. I personally think that these are so cute to hang on doorknobs in your home somewhere. I just think it's a little touch of something special for a holiday, and you could make these for any holiday that you wanted. You could write anything on them, but for me, I'm going to be doing an American flag. So I'm going to use some washi tape to create a border for the white, but honestly, as I did this washi tape, I realized I didn't need to do that. I could have just left the washi tape off and just painted it anyway. I was trying to make sure I had a clean line, and then I realized, forget it. I ended up ditching it and went back in and painted the white and red stripes. So you can see that I first put down the white base, and now I'm coming in with the red, and I actually this time I got 13 stripes on it like we should have on our flag. Sometimes it gets a little tricky when you're trying to DIY your stripes for an American flag. So I made sure I counted out and I had enough space for all 13 stripes. Then I made sure that was really dry, and then I came back in with my blue. Now I'm going to paint that other side, that blue square. And once that was all dry, I went ahead and grabbed a star, painted that white, and when that was all dry, I went ahead and did a little distressing. I know it's not for everybody, but I do really love a little bit of distressing. Nothing too crazy, but just enough to bring in a little texture and make things pop off of each other. So I'm adding a little bit on the flag and the star, and then I'm going to glue it on. But before I did that, I needed to create my punch holes. This is where my Crop-A-Dile comes back in, and I love it so much because it goes through wood so easily and it never hurts my hand using this tool. I punched 2 holes, and then I'm going to go ahead and add on my star right in between those stripes, and I love that it was hanging over a little bit on the ends. I thought that was so cute. And then with my twine, I'm just going to tie a knot on both sides of those holes, and it's ready to be hung up on a doorknob or a hook somewhere in your home. For this DIY, we are going to be making this stackable Uncle Sam DIY. Now, he turns out to be so cute and so charming for the 4th of July. I just loved him so much. So what I'm going to be doing is I spray painted the smallest one red, the medium box a tan color for his face, and then the blue at the very bottom is the largest box. So up at the top, I'm going to start on the red one first. I'm creating these really thick bands. I wanted to have a thin red line, and I wanted to have thick white stripes because I'm going to come back to that in just a second, and we're going to add some ribbon to it and make it look like his top hat real fancy. You'll see in just a second. Now I wanted to show you all, I picked up these stars from Joann's. I used a coupon. I thought these stars are so cute. They're buttons, and they come in all these different sizes, and then you can see the smaller pack has really tiny ones. I didn't open those ones up for this project, but I wanted you to see that. Look at how cute these stars are for 4th of July projects. I thought that these are just so adorable. So I'm going to take some hot glue, and on the bottom box, the largest one, I'm just going to glue stars all around the 4 sides, kind of cascading to the side, so it shows a little bit of the blue still, and you can kind of see they're going at an angle. And now I'm showing you that the tan one's going to go on top of the blue. We're not going to permanently glue these things in place on top of each other, because you'll see at the very end, you actually can take it apart and store it all back inside one box, which is the biggest box, which is the coolest thing about this DIY, is that it allows you to store all of the things at the very end inside one box. So I ended up adding 2 eyes onto his face. Then I took a piece of tan fabric. I cut a circle first, and then you can see I pinched the circle in half and cut off a little bit of the side. This is going to allow him to have a little bit of a 3D triangle type nose. So it's just a circle, and I cut a little bit off on the sides once I pinched it together. You can see there to the left of my hand, you can see about how much I chopped off. Not very much. And then I'm going to come in with my scissors. I added some glue on the sides of that circle. I glued it down, and now I'm just kind of opening it up so his nose looks like a nose. And then I took some white felt and I cut out almost like a jelly bean shape for his eyebrows. And then I'm also going to cut out, and it's almost like an eye shape or a leaf shape, 2 of these for his mustache. I mean, what is Uncle Sam without his mustache? So now I'm going to just take those and glue those right into place, and then we can start working on the hat again. That white paint had dried enough. I'm coming back in with some of this gingham ribbon that I picked up from the Dollar Tree around Valentine's Day, but you can use any ribbon that you want. And I'm just going to snip it off. I pulled it around the box and I'm gluing it on the inside. Once that's all glued in place, I'm now going to start doing some distressing. I felt like the distressing is where it really started to come to life and really got personality. So on the blue, I'm distressing with some white, and I'm just lightly dry brushing on white paint. Dry brushing means when you don't just saturate the whole brush head, you just get a little bit and you just keep rubbing it on until you get thin coats of it on there where you're drying it on. And then I went over the blue with the white and the white with the brown. And you can see here that it's really bringing up all that texture and it just looks so cute. Now around the bottom of the box, I'm going to take some of this ticking stripe. I thought we would give him a little scarf. And I tied a little knot with one piece of fabric and cut a little dovetail at the end, and I'm just gluing that in place. And I wanted it to have that wonky look because it's got that farmhouse, you know, country cute look to him. And then after that, you can start stacking him up. So you've got the base, his head, the top of the box, which is his hat brim, and then the red smallest square, which is his hat. This DIY is so incredibly fast, and it is an upcycle. Take any cans that you have in 3 different sizes, and then after that, you're going to just take them outside and spray paint them red, white, and blue. I love twine so much. I use it on a lot of my projects, and I just think it adds a very cute farmhouse feel to any project when you do add a little twine to it. So I wrapped around some twine twice, tied it in a knot, and then cut off the extra of that twine that's coming down and added on a star. I did that for all 3 of the cans, and then on the smallest one I flipped it up so that the opening was facing up, and now I'm going to add some greenery. I thought that this made it even more special by adding a little bit of greenery with it. I personally love a lot of greenery in my home because it makes it just feel like a very warm and inviting and calming place. And once you're all done, it's ready to be displayed.